Hey, Robert. Good to
Hey,
see
Eric.
you. It's been a while, but
hmm
here we are.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see. This is the first episode of our new podcast,
hmm
and this is gonna be just all about film. This isn't really gonna be a review channel. This is gonna be just about film and kind of, where we're at and um, how we're kind of breaking into the industry. Everybody has their own way. Um, yeah. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining in, everyone.
hmm Yeah. It's a great time to be a creative. I mean, well, mm, these times beg for good art, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about our backgrounds as we got interested in film and
Mhm.
the the projects that we've done. I
Right?
mean, I'll I'll start. My name is Rob Young, and I've been interested in the arts since I was a little kid. Since I was 3 years old, and my dad had a video camera, and I made little videos, home videos about you know cartoon characters that I liked, and then being in Michigan, I went to Interlochen Arts Camp and did a lot of theater. Happened to meet some friends who later on in high school, I did a bargain basement Shaft ripoff with, and I got to play the Shaft character.
Yes.
Um, and also did more theater in high school, musical theater and straight theater as well. And being in the Shaft movie was something that was really instrumental in me wanting to become a director because it was so much time involved in editing and shooting. It's like, okay, when is this going to get done? When's this going to get done? And as an actor, you get very impatient. And my director friend, was sort of an inspiration to me to want to do that. So I decided to go to Harvard University, where it did have a film program called Visual and Environmental Studies, um, and I did documentary work and narrative work there. Got to work with Damien Giselle of Whiplash and La La Land, and we collaborated on a couple of different student films there. Um,
Yeah, and I do
and
want to say there was something really interesting with watching these student films, and then you see Damien Chazelle's name in the credits, like the opening credits, and it's like, like I know this guy from like his Hollywood films, and then to kind of see almost like an origin in a way was
mm,
really, really cool. But
yeah, yeah,
continue.
yeah. Well, it just goes to show, you never know where somebody's going to wind up. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg was also there as well. So,
At the same time,
Yeah, he was there for a hot minute. I never met him, but yeah,
wow,
he's my age, so you know,
go
and
no.
Natalie Portman. So
And I'm sorry, who?
Natalie Portman,
Oh, she was there too
yeah, yeah,
at that time.
yeah, thereabouts. I think, yeah, she was a little bit older,
Mhm.
but yeah, there were stories.
Hey, yeah, that's Harvard for you.
Yeah. But yeah, I went on to California Institute of the Arts, and was sort of a mixed blessing, you know, because it showed me that, you know, this was getting closer to being real. You know, this is closer to being, you know, how do you be competitive in the film industry? I mean, I suppose Harvard was too, but Harvard was a lot more documentary and experimental, and Cal Arts was experimental in a different way, but it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. So eventually I returned to Michigan where I just started doing independent work and started also working in television, working for Detroit Public Television as a camera operator and as a production assistant. And you know, I also worked in independent films around in Michigan, 48-hour film contests where, you know, on the weekends you get a topic and you have to come up with a short film with limited resources and time. And yeah, so it's been fun, but let's go back to you, Eric.
So, I mean, you know, much like you, it was my dad's video camera. And I feel that's the story for a lot of people. You know, they pick up the first video camera they can find, they connect, they realize that, oh, what are these things that I love to watch, movies, what they're made with, you know, and then you kind of go through that whole like, oh, but it doesn't quite look like Tim Burton's Batman, or it doesn't quite look like Star Wars, you know. It's like, okay, there's a lot of education that comes with it and a lot that kind of goes into it. And you can't just really use dad's camera to get those images. But I mean, kind of interesting, you know, you said that you went out to uh, or you went back to Michigan to kind of, you know, continue your career. And that's actually where I was born. I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And yeah, you know, young age, got really into movies, just kind of, you know, I dress up like Ace Ventura, or I do my Home Alone, you know, thing where I played Kevin and the Wet Bandits. I played everyone, you know, just silly stuff like that. And then, you know, you come to like high school and then you realize like, oh, there's like minds and there's other people that have this passion too. And that's where, you know, I really got to kind of making movies. You know, cast my friends in all these roles, things like that. I even remember a few instances where, like, the drama teacher, she would kind of see the passion in us and she would be like, okay, I'm going to get you guys out of class so we can film at this location. You know, one time it was a cemetery, one time it was just literally on the theater stage at the studio. So for, you know, a teacher to kind of see that at a younger age, and then, you know, you're making things like, you know, you do a Batman fan film and you're following up, you know, Batman Begins, and it's like, okay, it's like right after Batman Begins came out, and like, what's the story? Like, where could it go? And then putting something like that on YouTube, you get kind of a lot of attention and not necessarily like, you know, all that like positive of attention. You get this, you know, this swarm of negativity of people like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen, and da 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 da. And it's like, well, for, you know, people just starting out, you know, and then for it to kind of get like this many views, then, you know, okay, whatever, love it, hate it, I don't care. um Even then, like, I didn't care, it didn't really phase me, I kind of knew it was part of that. um and then, you know, it was really going to college, and mind you, I just went to a community college, where you know, they had better equipment than the university in Chicago had. I remember looking at Columbia University and they were still kind of shooting on film. They had these archaic editing systems. And I remember, you know, watching making ofs and stuff, and, you know, things were kind of turning more to digital, and with, you know, with the editing programs, and, you know, you'd kind of see like Adobe or you'd see Final Cut, and it's like, wait a minute, the university isn't even editing on that, but the community college is. And I kind of got to look at like the syllabus of these classes like beforehand. So I kind of started planning some of these projects earlier and kind of amassing my crew. Um, and yeah, I really just like, I look back on that time and I feel like I seized like every opportunity that I could. And I really got into this mode of making short films. I really started to discover my voice. It wasn't just fan films. It wasn't just Batman. It was I wanted to tell these like human science fiction stories, you know, inspired by things like 12 Monkeys or um, you know, even like kind of Blade Runner to a degree where, you know, you have this person, well, maybe not in the case of Blade Runner, but you have this person kind of caught in the tangle of, you know, like what is reality, or you know, it's movies like Dark City where a character just kind of wakes up in this kind of, you know, crazy world, and you know, what does this mean, what does that mean? So that was a huge jumping off kind of point for me. And you know, I did like my time travel thing. There was like a 30-year older and then like a 30-year younger uh character, and they kind of interact. And then, you know, a few years later, Looper ended up coming out. And then I did Figment of My Imagination, which was kind of my like robot story. And you have this like, you know, the maker, guy that created the robot, the android. You have the scientist, the guy that's brought in to study the android. And then you have the android themselves. And then, you know, a few years later, I see the like 20 time better version of it through Ex Machina. And I go, wow, they just had those three characters too, and they told their story. But then, you know, it's like, okay, now I want to do my alien story, or now I want to do, what do I have to say about virtual reality being so inspired by The Matrix or Total Recall? Or, you know, well, geez, like I haven't seen that like classic sea monster story, so I better do something with that. And, you know, made my classic kind of sea monster story. And um, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a rough, you know, summation of kind of my like independent kind of where I'm trying to go or what I've been trying to do with that. But then, you know, it's getting onto these professional sets that have really kind of incited me, given me confidence, shown me what not to do, shown me what to do. And, you know, it's going through, you know, kind of from the beginning. You know, I think the first really big filmmaker that I worked with was Taylor Sheridan, who I think Yellowstone had just kind of started and it wasn't really what it has become. And it was this Angelina Jolie. It was supposed to be some big like comeback movie for her. I don't think that really worked out. Those Who Wish Me Dead worked with, you know, John Bernthal, Nicholas Hoult, of course, Angelina Jolie, just a huge cast. And then like pretty much right after that, it was working with Zack Snyder on Army of the Dead, and seeing him kind of craft his worlds, usually in either sound stages or on these, you know, perfectly crafted sets on the exterior of the soundstage. Like I remember,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was this like rooftop kind of scape, and you know, with the helipad, and they had a helicopter there, and it looked like we're on the rooftop of some giant skyscraper somewhere. But you just walk out the door and you're just flat, just on, you know, there's only one story. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you know, after that, it was, I mean, and it was pretty soon after that too. It was working on Oppenheimer with Christopher Nolan, and
Mm.
see him kind of use the IMAX cameras with his cinematographer Hoyte van Hoytema, to kind of see them working together was, you know, it like it felt like I was like dreaming or like watching like a behind the scenes special, but it's like holy cow, like I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, those experiences really kind of, you know, helped me with my craft or helped me kind of with where I want to kind of go with things. So Yeah, I mean
Mm,
it's a continuous journey, right, Robert? You know, it,
yeah, yeah. It's definitely something that you keep trying to refine, and you know good artists borrow, great artists steal. You just are kind of looking at the right things, and um, and trying to improve your work as you get going on it. I've turned a little bit away from film, although I'm going to be returning to it shortly. But I have a live musical called Nixon King, which
which is
is
ongoing. It's
which is
going on right
ongoing.
now.
Yes, yes, we're coming toward the end of our run, or at least our first run in Detroit. But it was a labor of love over 10 years of composing and writing um, and acting, and we've gotten some pretty good press from it, and we have some interest in potential LA short runs or New York runs, and I'm just sort of chasing that dragon as that wherever that goes, and it may
Yeah,
become a film, down the road.
yeah,
Uh,
it's the dream, right? That's the hope.
hmm And then the next project is a a a short film called Out of Time, which I haven't told you about yet, but it's just something that came to mind about an opera singer who is dealing with terminal cancer and what he
Mhm.
chooses to do in the time he has left, in terms of life, love, and his craft.
See, those can be some of the best stories, right? Because it's
Mm,
like I might not be here for that much longer, and I got to
mhm,
use this. Yeah, no. Well, in here, I want to point out too. Okay, so here's you and me talking. Why are we talking? How did we meet? Where did that come about? I met Robert years and years ago, over a decade ago, on a little site called BatmanFanFilms.com.
mhm,
And Robert was making Batman fan films. I was making Batman fan films, similar love of film. And, we kind of came together on that level. And yeah, it's just been something that's kind of grown and evolved in, unique ways over the years. And we recently came to a point, we're not going to get into it on this episode, but where we want to develop work together. And we've already kind of talked at length about some of kind of those ideas or where we want to, take things. And yeah, this whole podcast is really just going to be a journey through, that. And you know, I mean, I'm excited.
mhm. Yeah, so am I. Yeah, yeah, and I think the collaborative aspect of it is just great because we have um, lots of miles between us, but we are because of the greatness of technology, we're able to have these conversations and you know be creative, come up with scripts, and potentially even travel to work together in the
Oh, without a
future.
doubt. I mean, that would have to happen if we do work together.
Mhm.
We're not going to be directing from afar. We're not going to be Taika Waititi on Thor: Love and Thunder now.
Yeah, yeah.
But we don't want to go on, too long for our first episode. We want to just give you a flavor of kind of who we are, where we've come from, and we want to kind of, leave the rest up to future episodes. And
Mhm.
yeah, we hope that, you guys continue to tune in.
Yeah. So, with that, we will say good night and good luck.
Sounds good.
All
All
right.
right. Hey, thanks for talking, Robert, and we will see you guys very shortly here in the next one.
All right.